Senate will come to order. The senators will please take their seats. Senators and all in attendance will please stand and be led in prayer by the Honorable Richard H. Stewart, 28th Senatorial District. Following the prayer, everyone please remain standing and be led in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America by Tara Perkinson, Chief Deputy Clerk, Senate Clerk's Office.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, good afternoon. Would you all please bow your heads? Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day that you've given us and the ability to gather in this place. We ask for your blessings for all, but especially those less fortunate or with afflictions. And we ask you for wisdom and strength to do your will so that we are truly able to see our endeavor of being one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Good afternoon, Mr. President.
Good afternoon, Senator.
Mr. President, I would respectfully move that the rules of the Senate be suspended consistent with the motion we adopted on day one of the session allowing remote and electronic participation of our members.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the rules be suspended? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, no 0.
Ayes 38, no 0. The rules are suspended. The clerk will call the roll. All those in attendance will please record their vote aye. Clerk.
Senator Vogel votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll.
We have a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves, moves that the reading of the journal be waived. All in favor of waiving the reading of the journal will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote?
Senator Vogel, how do you vote?
Senator Vogel votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 35, noes 3.
Ayes 35, noes 3. The reading of the journal is waived. The clerk will report any communication from the House of Delegates.
We do not have any, sir. Oh, sorry.
We just got one? Okay.
We do have one.
The senior senator from Fairfax, Senator Sasslaw.
Mr. President, I move that we waive the reading of the communications from the House.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the reading of the communication from the House of Delegates be waived? All in favor of waiving the reading will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote?
Senator Vogel, how do you vote?
Senator Vogel votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 34, noes 5.
Ayes 34, noes 5. The reading of the communication from the House of Delegates is waived. The clerk will report any communication from the governor.
We do not have any, sir.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Resolutions, petitions, and bills are now in order. Senator from Lynchburg, Senator Peake.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. I have a bill.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be recognized? Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, members of the body, I'd like to announce a scheduling change. We had originally scheduled to do judges at 4 o'clock today, but at the request of the House, they would like to do it next week, next Tuesday at 3 o'clock, which means we don't have to come back at 4 o'clock today, but we will have to come back next 3 o'clock next week. Mr. President, and with that being said, pursuant to Rule 5 of the HJR 575, the scheduling resolution, I move the Senate to now suspend the special and continuing joint order relating to judicial elections until Tuesday, January the 26th at 3 o'clock p.m. next Tuesday.
Thank the senator. The question is, pursuant to Rule 5 of HJR 575, the scheduling resolution, shall the Senate suspend the special and continuing joint order relating to judicial elections until Tuesday, January the 26th at 3 p.m. All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote?
Senator Vogel, how do you vote?
Senator Vogel votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 33, noes 5.
Ayes 33, noes 5. The special and continuing joint order is suspended until Tuesday, January the 26th at 3 p.m. Chair recognizes the senator from Hampton, Senator Locke.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have sent to the clerk's desk the committee nominations report on the Senate standing committees, which I would like to be placed before the Senate.
Thank the senator. The clerk will read the report.
2021 Senate Standing Committees. Education and Health. Senators Lucas, Saslaw, Howe, Newman, Locke, Barker, Peterson, Cosgrove, Lewis, Donovan, Suderline, Peake, Edwards, Hashmi, and Pillion. Judiciary Committee. Senators Edwards, Saslaw, Norman, Lucas, Obenshain, McDougall, Stewart, Stanley, Deeds, Peterson, Saraville, McClellan, Boysko, Morrissey, and Peake. Local Government. Senators Lewis, Hanger, Stanley, Favola, DeStuff, Donovan, McPike, Howell, Spruill, Morrissey, Pillion, Bell, Hashmi, Kiggins, and Reeves. Privileges and Elections. Senators Deeds, Howell, Vogel, Reeves, Eben, Ruff, Spruill, Peake, McDougall, Saraville, Mason, McClellan, Boysko, Bell, and Donovan. Rehabilitation and Social Services. Senators Favola, Hanger, Locke, McDougall, Reeves, Cosgrove, Saraville, DeStuff, McPike, Spruill, Mason, Boysko, Morrissey, Kiggins, and Stewart. Transportation. Senators Marsden, Newman, Favola, Cosgrove, DeStuff, Suderline, McClellan, Peake, Boysko, Obenshain, Eben, Saraville, McPike, Spruill, and Stanley.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The chair recognizes the senator from Hampton, Senator Locke.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the committee nominations report be adopted.
The Question is, shall the report be...
Mr. President. Mr. President.
Oh, okay. Senior Senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
Yes, ma'am. May I please speak to this standing committees, please?
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to point out to the body that, as you all remember, last year when the rules of the Senate were changed, there was a change in the Senate rules that said that you must absolutely be a member of either the Republican Senate caucus or the Democratic Senate caucus to receive committee assignments. Mr. President, I would also say that what a lot of the average taxpayers don't realize is that in order to participate in a caucus, it requires paying caucus dues, which average at least $10,000 a year when legislators like senators in this room make $18,000 a year. I believe the folks at home can do the math. This is extortion, Mr. President, and I chose not to participate, and now I am being penalized as an equal member of this body, one of 40 state senators, and in this update to the 2021 Senate Standing Committees, I no longer have any committee assignment. So I'd like to call that attention to my colleagues and hope that they will stand and do the right thing and stand against these standing committees, or I will have to look at lawsuits. Thank you.
For what purpose does the Senator from Roanoke County, Senator Suderline, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. This was certainly not something I anticipated when I woke up this morning. Mr. President, I was going to ask a question of the chair of the Rules Committee. The senator from Chesterfield's comments sort of preempt that. I think that, so I'll just speak to the motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, in looking at this report, I think several smart decisions are being made. I'm very happy to see a dentist going on education and health, happy to see a former member of the Judiciary Committee who's also a well-respected attorney in the western half of the Commonwealth go back onto that committee. Very happy to see a distinguished member joining privileges on elections. Think that the rehabilitation social services makes a lot of sense. I'm not thrilled to see the senator from Franklin joining transportation, but that's okay. But the position on local government strikes me in a serious way as not making sense, because each of the other committees are ones that were previously served on by the senator from Russell. And I think it's very important that those seats be filled, and I thought that it was wise to put our dentist member, who's also from Southwest Virginia, on education and health, and I understand the idea to then remove him from another committee so that there's some balance there. But this local government decision is not a wise decision, and it's not because of who's going on it. The senator from Spotsylvania going on that is quite all right, but the fact that a senator is being removed from it. But what makes it all the more perplexing to speak, as I was anticipating about to speak and asking a question, was the comments from the senator from Chesterfield in her own defense are not accurate. I will just say, because basically called the whole body into question, and I'm going to vote. I was trying to figure out how I'm going to vote on this thing, where I agree with 5 of the decisions of the 6, even for you, Senator Stanley. And that puts me in an awkward situation. But with the senator from Chesterfield basically suggesting something that was so untrue about the body, I just want to correct that and point out, one, I didn't pay any caucus dues last year, and I don't think anyone on the Republican side did. So, that was quite all right with me. I didn't mind not paying the dues. Also, there's no requirement in the rules that you be a member of either caucus. I voted against the package last year because I thought that what was done on the committees was not right. I thought it went way too out of balance. But that's not what the rules say, that you have to be a member of either caucus. It talks about people leaving a caucus, and that's not an entirely new concept to this chamber. But I would also point out, since it's been brought up, that the senator from Chesterfield did not pay caucus dues for multiple years when she was a member of the Republican caucus, and she was still in the caucus and her committee assignments weren't affected. So it's not correct to say that because you do not pay your caucus dues, your committee assignments were affected. And my predecessor, the former senator from Botetourt, he did not pay his and I see the Republican leader looking at me and shaking his head vigorously because he did not pay his caucus dues several years. And even during that, he was a committee member, and he even chaired a committee during part of that time. So what's being said by the senator from Chesterfield is not accurate, and I'm trying to keep a good humor about things, but it's highly frustrating to see someone to be put in a spot where, 5 good decisions are being made and 1 bad one. I don't think this is the appropriate way to remove someone from a committee. And then that senator comes up and says things that aren't true on why she's being removed. And so this is a very unpleasant moment for all of us. And I'm leaning towards voting against it. And I think that you all ought to consider voting against at least the current form if it doesn't get amended. Because even though the senator said some things that weren't true right now, and that really upsets me, I'm not sure that I would immediately remove someone from their committee for that moment. I think that's the sort of thing that requires a little more thoughtful deliberation. And so at that moment, I thank you for your time as you got to hear my internal dialogue to this very perplexing situation.
What purpose is the senator from James City County, Senator Norman, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to speak regarding the motion that's before the body, sir.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, to be succinct, I associate myself with the comments that I think were very appropriately and eloquently made by the senator from Roanoke County. And I would say, Mr. President, that neither today nor tomorrow or in the future will I be defending some of the controversial behavior of the senator from Chesterfield. I look at it from a very different perspective, and it's something that I am being redundant about that all of you have heard me comment on before, and that is the custom, usage, and tradition of the Senate. I continue to, in my myopic world, observe what I consider an erosion and deviation from what we have traditionally done from a decorum and operational standpoint in the Senate. And I would say that a concern that I have is I am not certain where the boundaries will be drawn in the future. And I don't say that as a criticism directed at anyone on the floor of the Senate. I just think that we need to continue to try to have a long-term vision that we are the Senate of Virginia. We are not the House of Delegates, and to continue to think about what is worth preserving on the custom, usage, and tradition of the Senate.
What purpose is the senior senator from Chesapeake, Senator Cosgrove, rise?
Speak very briefly to the resolution.
Senator's the floor.
All I have to say is to the gentlelady from Hampton, praise Jesus, I am not on P&E. Thank you.
Do any other senators wish to be recognized? The senior senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to rise to speak in defense of some of the comments that were made.
Senator's the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just think maybe I need to reflect on some history here, because I think some people may have forgotten that history. Right after we all won re-election in 2019, the Republican Senate caucus voted on leadership. And it was at that particular moment that I chose not to support the current minority leader that was chosen. I would have supported anyone else at that particular moment. And I made the decision to leave the caucus because I could no longer sit under that caucus. It was within that week that the rules of the Senate were changed, and they were changed, I believe, because of direct actions that I had taken to leave the Republican Senate caucus. My seat on the Senate floor was moved where my normal seat of seniority should be, and I was put over in the corner like a scolded child. Mr. President, and in that same week, 3 of my 4 committee assignments were taken away for no reason. Mr. President, I would like to encourage the body that we each represent the citizens that elected us to each of our respective seats. And the citizens of the 11th District understood exactly, they re-elected me for a second term for a reason. And I'm not going to question the voters. They like that I'm a firebrand, that I fight back. And at times, you know, I'm not a polished politician, and I apologize for that. I'm very passionate about the people that I represent. And I will simply say to that point that I have actually, team members on my own staff were bullied because I did not pay caucus dues. And maybe that's not the situation that occurred from the senator from Roanoke County, but it is something that my staff and I personally received from members and staff members on my team, and I can attest to that. I simply want to just stop here and say, regardless of how you feel about me as a state senator or not, is I do represent the 11th District, representing Chesterfield, Colonial Heights, and Amelia, and I am very disturbed that you are going to take a sitting senator who is duly elected and remove them from all of their committee assignments. What hypocrisy. The same people that get up at that podium and pray about peace and unity in this body are the same people that don't show love, compassion, and mercy toward all members in this body. And I will simply say this. I welcome anyone that has an issue that wants to come talk to me one-on-one. I'm happy to have that discussion. But to have public dialogue and forum on this, if we're going to continue to operate with decorum and all those desires that we all share together in the Senate, that respect goes both ways. And so I'm going to ask the body to vote down the standing committee and ask to have my committee assignments restored. I was on 4. And now I'm on none. And Mr. President, that is not right. I have not been convicted, arrested. There are members in this body who have been charged with crimes, arrested, people injured for far worse things than anything that anyone in this body could come up against me. So if we want to go in this direction, it's not the direction that I choose to go. But it's a decision, apparently. If you all want to continue to go in that direction, I will play ball. Thank you.
What purpose does the senator from James City County, Senator Norman, rise?
Mr. President, if we could take a 7-minute recess and the Senate Republican caucus would gather in the hallway, please.
Without objection, the Senate will stand in recess for 7 minutes. For what purpose is the junior senator from Richmond City, Senator Morrissey, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning to you.
Good morning.
With respect to the instant question before the body, would the Chairman of Rules yield for a question?
Will the senator yield?
I yield.
Senator yields. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. During the previous debate, before we took a break for caucus meeting, a statement was made that unless you're a member of the Republican Party or Democratic Party, you could not be on a committee. That would preclude somebody who was a member, an independent, or a member of the Green Party, et cetera, from being on a committee. Could you just address the that particular statement, the veracity of that statement, please?
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe the rule states that if you are not a member of the Republican caucus or the Senate or the Democratic caucus, you may not serve on a committee, if I am correct.
Further question?
No further questions. Thank you, Mr. President. I hope it's not.
What purpose is Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman, rise?
Mr. President, speak to the motion.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, a couple of points. Mr. President, I think the rules of the Senate matter greatly. And this week and next week, we're going to talk a lot about the rules of the Senate. First, to the gentleman from Richmond City, I have a different view of the rules from what was just said. I believe that a member can sit on committees if they're not a member of a political party. The rules of the Senate say in 820A that they may, and that if you are elected from the Green Party or other parties, you still may serve on committees. Mr. President, also to the rules, if you look at Senate Rule on page 13, 820A, third paragraph, that section also could not be more clear. It is what some of us refer to as the Potts Amendment. What a day that was when this came about. Mr. President, what it says is, should any senator during his term of office cease to be a member of the political party of which he was a member at the time of his election, and there's a big word, or the caucus of such party, either by self-declaration or through other conduct, he or she shall be deemed thereby to have forfeited all the committee memberships to which they have elected. Mr. President, if you decide to leave your caucus, you move into the may category. Mr. President, I think that rule is pretty clear, and I think that the senator from Chesterfield certainly did declare that she was going to leave. Mr. President, there's something else, and it's bigger than a senator from any location. Mr. President, if you look at the current makeup of the Senate standing committees, without a resolution, Republicans, conservatives are going to be dramatically outvoted on the floor. And you may like it and you may not like it, but that's not the two-party system. The fact is that the Rules Committee chairman was asked to please come forward with a resolution. We didn't know anything about the small adjustment that we've been talking about lately, but this resolution is critical. I have such great friendship with my senators from the other party I have here, but I have tremendous disagreements on some policy matters. And having balance or near balance on the committees are critical. Mr. President, I think that having a representative in education and health that bring us somewhat closer is critical, and this resolution brings that. Judiciary, having the senator from Lynchburg is critical. And so while I understand that the senator from Chesterfield does not like the resolution, I understand, I believe that that decision was probably made last year under the self-declaration, but the fact is no senator, in my opinion, is more important than the ability to have balance on the committees, which actually started yesterday, and we need to get forward with that. Mr. President, for that reason, I plan to support the resolution.
Thank the senator For what purpose is the senator from Eastern Fairfax? Senator Searville rise.
Speaking of the resolution briefly.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think the senator from Lynchburg has accurately captured what the rules say. I just want to note the second paragraph specifically says of 20A, the standing committees may also include any senator not elected as a member of the two major political parties. And so it says it's optional. And so, if you're a Green Party member or whatever, then you can be on a committee. And I think he correctly captured the third paragraph, which has to do with things that happen after committee assignments have been made. But I would also just note, I don't believe there's anything in the rules that require anybody to be on a committee either. So there's no requirement that a senator be placed on a committee in the rules at all. And with regard to the ratios, those decisions, the senator's correct, were made last year. There's nothing in this resolution that changes the ratios. But I think if we wanted to have a discussion about the ratios, we could talk about some certain precedents that began before I got here, which led us down the road where we are right now. I wasn't part of those decisions back when they happened, but I think if we want to have a discussion about ratios, we need to all look in the mirror about that before we have it. So, Mr. President, we need to vote this one through and move on to some more important matters.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be recognized? The senior senator from Chesterfield, having spoken twice already on this motion, would be allowed to speak only without objection of the Senate. Senior senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate you recognizing me to speak. I simply want to make one final comment. The rules of the Senate were changed in 2019, right after each of us was reelected to our seat, self-included. That was at the point in which you all adopted what you all call the Potts Amendment. I believe was the Chase Amendment, made and created specifically for me because of the timing. And that amendment to the Senate rules, I just want to be clear, says, should any senator during his term of office cease to be a member of the political party of which he was a member of the time of his election, or the caucus of such party, either by self-declaration or through other conduct, he shall be deemed thereby to have forfeited all committee memberships to which he may have been elected. Mr. President, I'd just like to remind the folks at home that are watching, this rule was made immediately after I left the Senate caucus, the Republican Senate caucus. And by the way, I am still a Republican. I just chose to not caucus with the other Republican caucus because I disagreed with the direction the party was going. Nothing personal, but there were some significant policy decisions that were being made that I could no longer sit under that leadership, and there's nothing personal in that decision. I'm still a Republican. I'm still seeking the Republican nomination for governor, and I honestly believe this is nothing more than political targeting by someone who's the front runner in the Republican nomination for governor, and that there are those in this room that maybe don't like the people's choice for governor. Thank you, Mr. President.
For what purpose is the senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain, rise?
To the chagrin of my seatmate sitting in front of me, I rise to speak to the motion.
Senator has the floor.
You know, I've made a couple of comments about the maturity of members of this body. I understand that this is something that gives the senator from Chesterfield an opportunity to rise and say things over and over and over again that she has said repeatedly. But the fact that you say them over and over and over again does not make them true. And they are not. The senator from Botetourt very clearly articulated exactly what happened with respect to dues. Both parties ask their members to pay dues. They pay it or they don't. The senator from Chesterfield was never asked to leave our caucus. The senator from Chesterfield, I would remind her, stood up in a caucus meeting when we were indeed talking about our leadership and said, I'm going to leave your caucus. And Senator from Hanover popped up and said, whoa, 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 don't do that. You don't understand what that means. You lose all seniority and you lose seats on every committee, to which was met with wide eyes and surprise. That rule has been around, and you don't need to shake your head, but that rule has been around since then Senator Potts ran for governor. And I remember the animated debate on the floor and in caucus in which the senator from James City County and I think almost came to blows over the adoption of that change to the rules. That rule has been around. And saying that it was all about the senator from Chesterfield, which we know a lot of things are, don't make it true. And it ain't.
For what purpose does the senator from Lynchburg, Senator Peake, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to speak to the motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I had not planned to speak like many of my colleagues. I did not have any input whatsoever into this decision by the Rules Committee. To my knowledge, I don't think my Republican colleagues had any input to this decision by the Rules Committee. But I'll tell you, I think everybody here knows, as an elected official, when you run to represent a district and you run to represent the people, your obligation is to represent those people. Now, if you want to represent yourself, you can make decisions to represent yourself. The senator from Chesterfield, at that caucus meeting, which we don't talk about, which she showed up at and said, I'm going to withdraw. She told me that because I don't like the people who are going to be elected. I said, well, we didn't have a choice. No one else announced that they were going to run. If you did not want those people to be your elected officials, why in the world did you not tell me or contact me or announce that you were going to challenge them or encourage someone to challenge them? Instead, she said she sent an email to the leaders asking them to resign, and believe it or not, shockingly, they chose not to resign since there was no opposition to them. And then after being advised exactly what would happen to her, that she would lose her committee assignments if she withdrew from the party, she then knowingly and willingly withdrew from the party. And that allows her to go out into the public and say, look at me. I fight the establishment. I'm not a part of the good old boy network. Look at me. I fight the good old boys. That's a decision that she made. And then when she goes on and makes statements and comments to the public that are not representative of the Republican caucus, that support her ambitions for higher office, those are decisions that she makes in pursuit of her personal goals. To know that the actions that you take can be ruled on by this body, that you have consequences for what you do for your personal goals within this body. You make a commitment. Do you represent the people of your district, or do you represent your personal ambitions? And I guess for me, this motion, it fits both, because I'm getting put on courts where I have expertise, and I get to represent my constituents of the 22nd District, which is what I was elected to do, which is what I will continue to do until my term is up. So to the members of the Democratic Party and caucus who have put me on course, I thank you. I'm going to vote in favor of this because it benefits my district. Thank you.
For what purpose does the senator from Accomack, Senator Lewis, rise?
Mr. Chairman, speaking briefly to the resolution.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to thank the body on behalf of Chairman Emeritus Stanley, Chairman Emeritus Marsden, for bringing about this day that the three of us knew would always come, when folks were fighting over a seat on local government.
Thank the senator. For what purpose does the junior senator from Chesterfield, Senator Hashmi, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just respectfully remind the members of this body that there are indeed 2 senators from Chesterfield, and I ask that the record reflect that any time members refer to the senator from Chesterfield, that we add the language senator from the senior senator from Chesterfield. Thank you, Mr. President.
Do any other senators wish to be recognized? Seeing none, the question is, shall the committee nominations report be adopted? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote?
Senator Vogel votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 1.
Ayes 37, noes 1. The committee nominations report is adopted. Clerk will call the calendar.
Senate calendar for Tuesday, January 19, 2021. Uncontested calendar. Senate bills on third reading. Senate Bill 1110, a bill relating to property duties of real estate settlement agents.
Mr. Chairman?
We have a little technology glitch.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
I read it.
Senator from Northern Chesapeake, Senator Spruill.
Mr. Chairman, I move the bill pass.
Senator want to speak to the bill?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. This bill provides that the State Corporation Commission may share information collected from a settlement agency regarding an error or omission of malpractice insurance policy with any person in connection with the action of such grant agency.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding Senate Bill 1110? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 1110 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote?
Senator Vogel, how do you vote?
Senator Vogel votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. Senate Bill 1110 passes.
Senate Bill 1175, a bill relating to Brunswick County School Board appointed school board salaries.
Senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate bill be passed, and it just simply removes some outdated language that's in the code dealing with the Brunswick County School Board.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding Senate Bill 1175? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 1175 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote?
Senator Vogel, how do you vote?
Senator Vogel votes aye.
Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. Senate Bill 1175 passes.
Regular calendar, Senate Bill on third reading. Senate Bill 1132, a bill relating to public schools, severe weather conditions, and other emergency situations, unscheduled remote learning days.
Senator from Roanoke County, Senator Suderline.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate pass Senate Bill 1132. And speaking to that motion,
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 1132 provides for an opportunity for when a jurisdiction's had multiple bad breaks, be it weather, a water main break, basically anything that's unanticipated closure of school, that they can use a remote learning option. It's capped at 10 days, and this is something that would be envisioned to being used, for example, when a water main breaks, or more. That's where in my district it came up recently, or when in the mountains we have snow for several days on end. This is not something to make the first one go away. So I hope it will be the pleasure of the body to pass the bill.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is Senator from Alexandria, Senator Eben, rise?
If the senator would yield for a question.
Will the senator yield?
Yes.
Senator yields. You have the floor.
I would ask the senator, when, aside from a pandemic, why would these remote makeup days need to be scheduled as remote days rather than in-person learning days if we're not in a pandemic at that time?
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I'm happy to answer the senator from Alexandria. I was getting in the wrap-up queue earlier for speaking too long, so I'll try to keep this very brief. But this would not be related to a situation like we're currently in some school jurisdictions. It would not be related to we are not going to do school in person for the next several weeks. Instead, we are going to use remote learning. This is for unscheduled days. For example, the water main break I gave, or out in my area when we have several days of snow. We had 2 years ago where in Roanoke County, I believe we had less days in school than were actual school days. And what we have to do now is to make sure that we're still able to get our full support from the Commonwealth, and we have to either add 20 minutes on to each day, or we add days at the end of the year that aren't that academically valuable.
Further question?
Thank the gentleman.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard regarding Senate Bill 1132? Seeing none, the question is, shall Senate Bill 1132 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote?
Senator Vogel, how do you vote?
Senator Vogel votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. Senate Bill 1132 passes.
Uncontested calendar, Senate bill on second reading. Senate Bill 1299, a bill relating to alcoholic beverage control, sale, and delivery of mixed beverages and pre-mixed wine for off-premises consumption. Reported from the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services with a substitute.
Senator from Loudoun County, Senator Bell.
Mr. President, move the committee substitute.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted. Senator from Loudoun, Senator Bell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill be engrossed and moved on to its third constitutional reading.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Regular calendar, Senate bills on second reading. Senate Bill 1171, a bill relating to the State and Local Government Conflict of Interest Act, disclosure requirements, industrial development authorities, and economic development authorities. Reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with an amendment, and there are two floor amendments.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, I appreciate your indulgence, and I'd ask once again this matter be passed by for the day, sir.
Thank the Senator. Without objection, Senate Bill 1171 will go by for the day.
Senate Bill 1190, a bill to direct the Board of Education to include advanced directive education in its curriculum framework for the health standards of learning for high school students. Reported from the Committee on Education and Health.
The junior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Kiggins.
Mr. President, I'd like to engross and advance this bill to its third constitutional reading. I'd like to speak to the bill briefly.
You don't have to, but...
Okay, well then I'll wait.
Thank the Senator. Question is, shall the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Uncontested calendar, Senate bills on first reading.
Senior Senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Mr. President, I move that all Senate bills on the first reading on the uncontested and regular calendars, that's pages 4 through 9, Senate Bill 1120 through Senate Bill 1355, that the rules be suspended and the first constitutional reading be dispensed with.
Thank the Senator. Question is, shall the rules be suspended and the first reading of the titles of Senate bills on the uncontested and regular calendars, pages 4 through 9, Senate Bill 1120 through Senate Bill 1355, be dispensed with? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote?
Senator Vogel, how do you vote?
Senator Vogel votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 0.
Ayes 38, noes 0. The reading of the titles is dispensed with. The senior senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Mr. President, I now move that those bills go by for the day.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the Senate bills on the uncontested and regular calendars, now on second reading, go by for the day? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bills will go by for the day. Senior Senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw.
Mr. President, I inquire of the clerk, does that complete today's calendar?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there any other business to come before the Senate? For what purpose does the senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson, rise?
Mr. President, rise for an announcement.
Senator, has the floor.
Mr. President, the Senate Ag Committee will meet 45 minutes after adjournment, so I have time to propose a couple bills in P&E 45 minutes after adjournment.
Thank the Senator. For what purpose does the senator from Roanoke County, Senator Suderline, rise?
Mr. President, I'd like to make a brief point of personal privilege.
Senator, is the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. This Saturday that just passed was a significant anniversary here in the Commonwealth because it was the anniversary of when the Virginia legislature passed the Virginia Statute on Religious Freedom. And when you go down Shockoe Slip, you can read portions of it there. And I always enjoy getting to see that and the just how significant it is. Sometimes we forget that the First Amendment's origins here in the Commonwealth and the right to religious speech and, more importantly, religious conviction and to live according to those convictions. And when we talk about it, it's often mentioned as part of Thomas Jefferson's legacy, and we all tend to think of Thomas Jefferson as an amazing politician, so presumably he wrote that up and got it passed and it went into law. But we all know that's not the way that things usually work for each of us, especially not anything that substantial. He proposed that several years before it was actually adopted in 1786. It was almost a full decade before. And he met with little success in the legislature. And the only reason, likely, that we were able to get it passed when we did, as the Virginians, is because Patrick Henry pushed for a means of dedicated revenue streams for the Church of England. And he sought to essentially tax Virginians to support a church that a lot of Virginians, especially in my part of the Commonwealth, did not adhere to. A lot of them were Baptist, and they did not want to be giving their tax dollars to another church. And Thomas Jefferson and Madison realized that this tax revolt was probably the greatest time that you were ever going to have folks believing in religious liberty because they didn't want to have to pay for someone else's. And they wisely did it, and they put it in, and 9 years after Jefferson originally wrote it, it finally passed in 1786. And we celebrate it now, and a few years ago on its anniversary, Delegate Adams had legislation to commemorate that event. I'm not aware of a resolution this year, but I did not want it to pass on this 200th, on this anniversary of what we did in 1786 by our predecessors. And it's very important that we remember both the sentiments of it, but just how it came to be and how important legislation like that so often takes a decade to pass. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is Senator from Henrico? Senator Donovan, rise.
Mr. President, I rise for a point of personal privilege.
Senator, has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am going to share with the Senate today some of my expertise of outside of the Senate as a physician. And I wanted to talk to you today as we begin this session and we look back on what's happened over the last year and the last month. And in medicine, it's really important that you are specific when you identify an issue. And in psychology, it's really important that you identify emotions accurately because when you do, you're better able to manage them and to deal with situations and resolve them. And I want to talk to you today about something called motive attribution asymmetry. I know it's a lot of words. I often have to look it up because I forget. But motive attribution asymmetry is a psychological term that talks about one group's belief that their rivals are motivated by emotions opposite their own. So to kind of break that down, one group believes they're truly motivated by good, and the other group, their contrarian group, is motivated by evil, not disagreement, not by other motivations, but it breaks down on a very primeval level. Attribution is how we explain behaviors we see and what happens. So motive attribution asymmetry. And this is really, really important as the research is done. Dr. Young from Boston College, who's done a lot of expert research on this, says it's interesting to see that people can be blind to the source of behavior on the other side. That you can go from saying you're motivated by love of your own group, and you can't seem to apply that reasoning to the other side. She says there's a mismatch between what I think my group's motive is and what you think my group's motive is. There definitely seems to be an error or bias in the way that happens. There's a lot of research on this. I'm not going to go into it in detail, but Arabs and Israelis in the Middle East are one example group where they've studied this and found it to be accurate. And believe it or not, in America, Republicans and Democrats are equally vitriolic about having this asymmetry. So this is really important, and that's where we get more into the psychology. When you look at this, people often say that the problem in America is incivility or intolerance, but that's not correct based on what the experts say. Motive attribution asymmetry leads to something worse: contempt. Contempt is important because it creates a sense of rejection, which actually creates a biochemistry in your bloodstream of adrenaline and cortisol, which are the stress hormones. And they actually, I always tell my kids, don't get stressed before a test. Relax once you've studied, because if you go dump that cortisol and that adrenaline, you can't think. You can't come up with the answer on your test. And that's what's happening in America as we discuss issues. And maybe that's part of the problem, is that we're not discussing issues, because the solution for motive attribution asymmetry is not less disagreement, it's more. It's disagreement and discussion, because competition is good. Disagreement helps us innovate, improve, and find the truth. One proposed intervention for this is correcting misperceptions of opposing partisans and encouraging people to engage in cross-party interactions. E.L. Finkel from Science observes, these differences exist more in people's heads than in reality. There's a whole lot of common ground, but Americans struggle to see it. Finkel offers that simply reminding people of what they have in common reduces out-party hate. A related idea is to instill intellectual humility, such as by asking people to explain policy difference at a mechanistic level, not an ideological or emotional, but at a mechanistic level. Leaders of civic, religious, and media organizations committed to bridging divides can look to such strategies to reduce intellectual self-righteousness that can contribute to political sectarianism. Well, you know what I'm saying. I didn't pronounce it right. So guys, listen. I'm here to say this starts with us. We all know each other. We are all so proud of the relationships we use in the Senate to accomplish great things for Virginia with dignity. So I think we have to challenge ourselves for that intellectual humility, ask each other what we really mean, and I think this is a foundation. I'm going to use this word again. I'm going to bring it back up, because when we can identify when we're going off track, I think we can fix it, and it has to start somewhere. It's probably not going to start on Facebook, but it might start here. So I just wanted to take a moment, Mr. President, and make those comments. Thank you.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is Senator from James City County, Senator Norman, rise?
Mr. President, truly a very brief point of personal privilege.
Senator, it's the floor.
Mr. President, I listened with interest the basis for continuing the special and continuing order on judicial elections today. Having been in a similar position in eons ago when our side was in a majority party, I understand the importance of making a constructive effort to get along with our partisan colleagues in the other body. I would just say, Mr. President, was less than amusing to me today to think that we were going to come back to 4 o'clock today, because that is when the House decided that they wanted to conduct their sessions. And I would just hope as we're going forward that our leadership would at least try to work on an equal basis with the House of Delegates and let them adjust to our schedule on at least some occasions. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the Senator. For what purpose is the senior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator D. Staff, rise?
Mr. President, I rise for a point of personal privilege.
Senator, has the floor.
Mr. President, I've chosen again to forego my spotlight on the parole board's ongoing release of cold-blooded killers, rapists, and dangerous child sexual predators, as well as other violent criminals across the Commonwealth. Yesterday, as you recall, I spoke about the administration's abysmal rollout of the vaccine. Well, this morning, Richmond's ABC news station, WRIC, reported that data shows that Virginia ranks in the bottom 5% of all states at getting the shots into the arms. That's second from last. Back in Hampton Roads, NBC's Wavy Channel 10 reported yesterday that the Peninsula city managers are sharing their frustrations over the lack of COVID-19 vaccine availability in the region. According to current data on VDH's website, current weekend administration of the vaccine is on average just about 2,745 doses a day across the Commonwealth. There seems to be no urgency whatsoever in getting Virginians inoculated from the governor or his administration, Mr. President. In a recent email response to Virginia Beach's mayor's office, the governor's spokesman acknowledged that communications between the administration and local leadership in my district needs to improve on both ends. Mr. President, I find the statement interesting, as I've made multiple efforts to include written communications, emails, texts, as well as phone calls to the governor's office in hopes that I might be able to sit down or meet with the governor over the important issue and share our constituents' concerns. I've even sought the assistance of the Senate Majority Leader to help facilitate such a meeting. Unfortunately, all of those efforts seem to have been fruitless. Efforts to improve communications can't just be one-sided. It's easy to say communications need to improve, but what are you doing to make such improvements? I agree with the senator from Arlington yesterday when she said leaders need to do more. Well, Mr. President, I agree with that statement. We need to do much more. And I'm calling on the governor and the administration to show leadership and to do more. And I'm happy to meet with the governor anytime, any place, whenever he's available to discuss this further. Thank you, Mr. President.
For what purpose does the senior senator from Fairfax, Senator Sasslaw, rise?
Point of personal privilege.
Senator, has the floor.
There appears to be some dispute in the numbers, because I was told yesterday that only 4 states had given more inoculations than Virginia. But that's not why I got up. I think it was last Saturday, an individual is probably not known to most of the people in here. A state senator over in Maryland passed away. His name was Mike Miller. And the reason I bring this up is that, in the opinion of many, he was probably one of the most effective state legislators in America, not just in Maryland, but in America. He was president of the Maryland Senate for 33 years. And, you know, till the day that man died, I don't think anybody in Maryland could have exactly told you what his ideology was. And the reason is he wasn't interested in that. He was only interested, and this somewhat ties in with what you heard from Senator Donovan, he was only interested in results and making his state better. And they've had some pretty good Democratic and Republican governors, but if you talk to most of the people in both the Maryland House and the Maryland Senate as to who has put the state in the position that it's in and who accomplished the most for the state, it'll be almost unanimous. It was Mike Miller. And like I said, he wasn't interested one bit in ideology. He was only interested in one thing, and that was results. No matter what the issue was, he never took his eye off the ball. And as you could pretty much guess from what I'm saying, he was probably, from an ideological standpoint, pretty near the center. And it's my own observation over the years is that people who govern from the center generally have gotten a lot more done than those who don't. But he was a model that, quite frankly, it wouldn't hurt for all 40 of us to emulate. He was quite a person. Mike was at the University of Maryland when I was there. In fact, I and Steny Hoyer, and I knew Steny Hoyer in college, but whatever, if you take a look at how well Maryland's doing, and they're doing pretty well financially, a lot of that was doing this one state senator. And it wouldn't hurt for all of us to probably act more in line with what he did than what some of us do, including me, from time to time. But I just wanted to bring this to your attention because, as I pointed out, in the opinion of many, and not just in Maryland, he was one of the most effective state legislators in this country. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the senator. For what purpose does the senator from Northern Fairfax, Senator Howe, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise on a point of personal privilege.
Thank the senator. You have the floor.
I briefly turned off my waiting to speak button because of respect for Mike Miller, who I also have tremendous respect for. But I did want to respond briefly to the senator from Virginia Beach. He is saying, along with everyone else, that the problem with getting the vaccines out and into people's arms is the lack of supply. The lack of supply is not the fault of the governor of Virginia. The lack of supply is the fault of the federal government and the outgoing president. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the senator. For what purpose does the senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain, rise?
Point of personal privilege.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, with respect to the supply has been rolled out by the federal government on the basis of how well each state is doing in getting their supply out. So in Virginia, because we are second to the bottom or in the bottom 5% of states that are vaccinating, our supply is going to other states like West Virginia and South Dakota and other states that are doing a more effective job. Now, we may be vaccinating more people than a handful of other states, or maybe even a lot of other states, but most of them are teeny tiny little states. And if we continue to vaccinate at the rate that we're vaccinating, maybe we'll get it done by 2027. And we'll still have vaccinated more people than Vermont or Rhode Island. And maybe we can pat ourselves on the back. But I took great pleasure in reading, or at least my wife took great pleasure in reading, that the vaccine is being rolled out to people with underlying medical conditions, which she told me last night includes people who are 16 and older who smoke. So my 58-year-old wife went out and bought her first pack of cigarettes ever.
Do any other senators wish to be recognized? Seeing none, the clerk will report any announcements on the desk.
Today, Tuesday, January 19th, on behalf of Senator Howe, Chair of Finance and Appropriations, please review your budget amendment request. The electronic version was emailed to members this morning. All edits are due to Senate Finance and Appropriations Committee staff by 5 p.m. today. The Committee on Privileges and Elections will meet 15 minutes after adjournment, West Committee Room, Science Museum. The Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources will meet 45 minutes after adjournment in the East Committee Room of the Science Museum. The Education and Health Subcommittee on Health will meet at 4 p.m. Senate Chamber at the Science Museum. Senators Lewis, Saslaw, Barker, Donovan, and Sugarline. Tomorrow, Wednesday, January the 20th, the Finance and Appropriations Subcommittee on Public Safety will meet at 7:30 a.m. West Committee Room at the Science Museum. Senators Lucas, Norman, Ruff, Edwards, Peterson, Marsden, and Eben. The Rehabilitation and Social Services Subcommittee on Marijuana will meet at 8 a.m. in the East Committee Room at the Science Museum. Senators McPike, McDougall, Reeves, Servell, Spruill, Boysko, and Kiggins. The Committee on Finance and Appropriations will meet at 9 a.m. West Committee Room, Science Museum. The Democratic Caucus will meet at 11:30 a.m. in the Democratic Caucus Room, and the Republican Caucus will meet at 11:30 a.m. in the Republican Caucus Room.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there any other business to come before the Senate? Seeing none, I call on the Senator from Portsmouth, Senator Lucas.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that the Senate do now adjourn until 12 noon tomorrow.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the Senate stand adjourned until 12 noon tomorrow? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Senate stands adjourned until 12 noon tomorrow.